Welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Lens with your host Jake. This week, we are not talking about bourbon at all, and I am very excited because I have started to enjoy this spirit quite a bit, and we are going to be talking about tequila, and we are excited to be joined by Jose Valdez of Tequila Partida. So sit back and buckle into the latest episode of the Bourbon Lens. Jose, thank you for joining the Bourbon Lens. I know we're not talking anything about bourbon, but whiskey does have an influence on what you do to create some of your products. So there's some cross-pollination there. So thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me, Jake. I'm super excited to share to your Bourbon audience about the tequila.
Yeah, and the most important thing, we have a couple things I think that are very important, but one is the labor of love that goes into creating tequila. If people haven't done this, they should always go online and find watching a tequila harvest or that agave plant being harvested, because that is truly a labor of love by your teams to create this beautiful spirit in Blanco, or if it's rested or aged, in the Añejo or the Reposado. So I just want to talk about that first before we talk about Tequila Partita, because I think to understand who you are, you have to understand the fields and the plants that you all work with.
That's a very good starting, Jake. The romantic part of the tequila industry are not only tequila, but the agave spirit, including mezcal and other spirit that come from the agave, is the raw material is this plant that we call agave. And has to be harvested, or first of all, has to be cultivated in a natural way. And you have to wait. It's not like a grain, no? A spirit is a plant that takes 7 to 10 years. Used to be longer. Nowadays, it's around 6 years, 5 years. It's shorter, but still, you need a lot of time, and that's one of the reason that you have to wait until the plant reach maturity. And then the labor part, because there's no a machine that can harvest the agave, because every plant grows differently in the plant. Although at the lab stage you can create genetic speaking like the same plant, that plant has to go outside to the fields, to the soil, and it's gonna create the roots differently. It's gonna absorb nutrients, minerals, and water differently. And that plants, so even let's say brother agave plants are gonna grow differently, and therefore, and this is the main reason, we need the jimadores. The jimadores is the person that harvests the agave.
And that they carry around one of the scariest blades that I've ever seen. Those things, the machete is sharp and it can really cut that plant down really quick. I find it fascinating. I think I've watched, I don't know, countless videos recently of the harvesting of the plant, because I have an agricultural background. That's where I got my undergraduate degree, was in agriculture. And so harvesting and that part of spirits in general, I think is the most beautiful part. We skip to the talking about the tasting, and we forget that the center of this, the spirits industry, is really an agricultural industry. Because you all are crop rotating and doing different things to prepare your fields so that they can produce the best agave plant.
That's right. The tool that you mentioned, Jake, is called COA, and it's basically a circle, solid steel tool that is extremely sharp. And the purpose of this level of sharpness is because the fiber of the agave plant is stronger than coconut and other fibers. So you need a tool that is very precise in the cuts, but at the same time is risky for the jimadores. So you see skinny jimadores, you think they're skin, but they're super strong because they work hard when the sun rises until the sun set. I mean, not all the time, but sometimes during the day that is heavy, semi-desert, and then they have to be skillful to avoid any accident with this tool. And this tool is everything. Every 2-3 plants, they take their tools to sharp even more the coa. And yeah, that's the human touch that has the industry. And yeah, it starts from the fields and ends in the glass.
And so walk me through that process. Right now it's been harvested and it comes back. There's still a lot to actually get into the middle part of the plant where the distilled spirit comes out of, correct?
Correct. The if you're producing 100% agave tequila, the only raw material you require basically is agave plus water. That's it. Even the yeast can be yeast from the environment. You can add yeast, beer or champagne or bread, any type of yeast, but you can create your own yeast from the agave. So yeah, that's the only ingredient, and is the personality of the spirit. It comes from the plant, from the flavor of the plant.
So as you all, you have this beautiful, agricultural product, right? Now let's get into a little bit of the brand. How did Tequila Partita start? How did you get into this industry?
Well, me as a Mexican, as many other Mexican, you don't see how big is the tequila until you go outside Mexico.
Mm,
And you realize that this beverage is well known in many countries, especially the U.S. because we are neighbor. We
yeah,
have, cultural connection for many, many, many years.
yeah.
And but outside US also, you go to Europe, Asia, and you see people who recognize this spirit nowadays, like more quality tequila, no? And Tequila Partida in those years, in 2005, I just have a couple of years after finish my engineer degree, and I was looking for an opportunity to work in the tequila industry. I love the tequila since I was a kid because my dad used to drink, I won't say the brand, but he kept a bottle of Reposado of this amazing brand.
Mm,
And he only drink one caballito after on Sundays after the mass. We went to the mass, and after the mass, before the barbecue, he put music, Mexican music, and drink that tequila. And I didn't know. I grew up with that, and I said, why my dad only drink once a week one shot of this liquid? What is this liquid? So I learned that. And when I studied in Jalisco, in the capital of the tequila, in a university,
hmm.
obviously there are many distilleries, and it's the capital of the tequila.
For
And
sure.
so I get connected to many in the industry. And in one of these trips to Europe, and when I finished college as a backpack trip, I
Yeah.
learned that not good tequila were available in Europe, and just a few good brands in America. No, in
Yeah.
2005, probably it
True.
was only Patron, and it was only Don Julio, probably Herradura as well. Only three brands, no, like well known,
Yeah.
100%, more expensive, more premium. But I said, you know what? There's more space for premium tequilas and not industrial brands. So I want to be part of a project to create a Mexican tequila contemporary packaging. And that's why we developed this colorful agave shape of the plant. I mean, circle, completely crystal bottle. Yeah. That even before you taste it can invite you to say, well, this is quality and this is
Yeah.
colorful and this is nice and this is transparent. No, it's transparency. We don't like shortcuts. We don't like to put artificial flavor, which is allowed, glycerin or sweetener or coloring. And we said since day one, and that's why Tequila Partida is called the or OG additive free or the original tequila additive free, because actually the founder of the movement of additive free, Robert, the tequila matchmaker app creator, he said,
Hmm.
Tequila Partida is probably the first brand I tasted 20 years ago in San Francisco that is the additive free, the original additive free. And that's why I get involved. I met investors, investor from Mexico, investor from the US, and we decided to do it right, to invest in high quality packaging, and also to invest in a in a distillery where we are gonna work in a small distillery and find the location, find the agave. To make tequila, tequila has a protection of the land. you cannot produce tequila everywhere in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Has to be in certain territory, which is basically the state of Jalisco, the whole state of Jalisco, and a few towns or municipalities around Jalisco, other states, but not the whole states, like Michoacán, Nayarit, Guanajuato, Tamaulipas. They have a few towns, but the only state, that's why we said Jalisco is the tequila state, is where we are. And there are two big regions. One is what they call the Highlands,
Mm-hmm.
which is where Patron is, where Don Julio is, and it's a pretty new territory. It has 75, 80 years, no? Like Don Julio has 70 years.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have the oldest distilleries, and is where Tequila Partida is established, which is the Tequila Valley. We are in the Tequila town, so many people don't know, and it's okay that tequila is not only a spirit beverage, agave spirit beverage. It's also a town. It's a
Oh,
town called Tequila, like Champagne. You go to Champagne, and so we have a town
okay.
here in Jalisco, a small town, and multiple distilleries where the oldest distilleries are Cuervo, Sausa, Herradura. So we are in this town, in this location. We decided to be part of the history of the original production of tequila, but with new quality methods.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I just learned something new. Definitely didn't know that there was a town. So A, thank you for the geography lesson. But B, like going back to the packaging piece of this again, I'll hold the bottle up so people can see this. I do think seeing this bottle, and I've had my bad nights with the additive, tequilas and the sugar and all the extra stuff. It just doesn't make you feel good. And we talked about this on our podcast this week was the rise of tequila and the influence on the whiskey industry, vice versa. But to appreciate the rise of the influence on whiskey, you have to be able to appreciate the base spirit. And that's something I hadn't done because, I remember that night when I got a shot of tequila and I didn't like it. I didn't appreciate it. It just did not sit well with me, right? You've probably been there. You've had that moment.
Yeah.
When I opened this up before I made a margarita, I made a conscious effort. Thank you to Colangelo Partners and Colin for setting this up because I wanted to know a little bit more about that. What are the tasting notes in a Blanco tequila? What should I be getting and understanding that it's not been masked by a margarita or a Paloma or whatever other cocktail it could be in? And that's when I've found myself at 80 proof being able to enjoy this because it does have flavor profiles that are uniquely different, but there are some things that you can get from a base distillate of a whiskey that you may have. It's just going to be different because agave is going to have its own plant mineralities and notes that it creates and the different ester profiles and so on and so forth. So that's what I appreciate about this is not only that it looks quality, it tastes quality too.
Yeah, I think for many, many years, we have the stigma of tequila, shot glass, and then a lime, no? And a lime to erase the bad flavor of a bad tequila or a strong tequila that it was not high quality. Nowadays, we use glasses, no? Like sniffers or tequila glasses or champagne glasses. Why is that? Because definitely we have elevated the profile and the quality of the liquid.
Mm-hmm.
In a blanco, which is the base of the tequilas, is the most important class for tequila makers. No, all the maestros tequileros or the expert in production of tequila, we all prefer blanco because blanco is, as you pointed out, is the base, is the raw material, which is the agave. But the agave doesn't mean that has to be bad. Is the other way around. It's a sweet, but natural sweet, especially additive-free tequilas, is the sweet because the agave is sugar. It's a inulin. It's a fructose and glucose together in a chain. When it's cooked, what I invite people in the distillery is to taste the cooked agave. And if you, as a listener, you have never been in a tequila town or in the Highlands or in any tequila distillery, don't worry. Go to your supermarket, to your closest supermarket, and buy the agave nectar. So grab agave nectar, put it in a spoon, taste it, and that's exactly the flavor of cooked agave. So we expect to have that sweetener in the liquid, and that's the cooked agave, which is Yeah, it's sweet. It's like a caramel, no?
So it's really interesting. I just got had an experience with, you mentioned Herradura last week, and was trying their Blanco tequila. And it's so interesting, right? You would think water and plant, because they're also, additive free, that it could be similar. But this is a different experience to me. This has, I think, a little more vanillin is the kind of the note that I'm getting out of this. So there's a lot of vanilla, like frosting kind of deal, and less pepper. Theirs was a little more peppery, and so
Mm.
that's what I find very interesting. Is same basic principle, but you're probably doing at different ratios. You may be utilizing yeast or not, or all those things. And this is really
That's
lovely on the nose, and I love the salty minerality of this on the nose as well.
Yeah, because we use volcanic water. What is interesting to explain to your audience, Jake, is that there are more than 2,000 brands of tequila registered under the Intellectual Property Institute of Mexico, and there are around 160 distilleries. So one distillery can produce multiple brands. That's one thing. Another thing is there are different production processes in tequila. What we said, the artesanal or ancestral, which is the Tahona, and is the like 300 years ago was produced the tequila in a small pot still, copper, and open fermentation. And then we have the artesanal, which is still in brick oven or in stainless steel autoclave. And then, but the milling is not with the Tahona, it's more with the rolling mill,
Yeah.
but still open fermentation and alembic, no? And then
Hmm.
we have the industrial, which is the industrial is like producing ethanol, is rather than tequila.
Yeah.
Quite honest, it's very industrial, super efficient. It's a machine maker. It's more like a refining. It's more like a refining, right? Like rather than distilling. No, we said joking. Sometimes it's not a distillery; it's a refinery for alcohol, agave alcohol. With
Yeah, it's like
why
calling still pot, like, it's constant production. You're stripping all the impurities out as much as you can. It's constantly running. Whereas that pot distillation, you're dumping your hearts and tails, um, or your heads and tails, and you're going just for that
the heart.
sweet spot of that heart that you're looking for. And in a Blanco, any of these things, I prefer that. I prefer you give me no congeners, no esters. Give me the middle, the heart, the chunky stuff that is going to be good for me to enjoy.
Yeah, obviously that's the sweet part of the production of tequila, doing in a traditional pot still and concentrated in the heart of the distillation is the good alcohol. No, if we can call good alcohol, the bad alcohol is the methanol and the very volatile that we
Yeah.
call the superior alcohol that are concentrated in both heads and tails, but obviously it's more costly to do that traditional process, but the quality is completely different. What we need to understand is that to please the huge demand of tequila, premium tequila, brands need to source tequila from different distilleries. And sometimes these distilleries are industrial distilleries. So they put together liquid from, let's say, 5 different distilleries. They filter and they put the additives, which is, again, is allowed. It's not a bad thing. But the problem that I see in additives is the abuse of additives to make it extremely sweet, extremely essence of vanilla, extremely high fructose, extremely saccharose or sugar, or extremely abuse of caramel color and glycerin, and that affect the flavor. Obviously, you're gonna taste alcohol and sweet. Everybody loves, but the consequences to your body. And we believe that this moment is because people, new generation, Generation Z, is more conscious about what they're putting in their bodies, not only from food, but also in alcohol. So they're drinking less, uh, but higher quality. And higher quality sometimes means completely natural, no? And that's what Tequila Partida has done for 20 years. We're not like a new brand, a new celebrity now. We're an independent consistency brand focusing on the quality of every batch of production.
Yeah, I can experience that. I can enjoy that, and does not remind me of anything of yesteryear. It reminds me of an experience now. It also I like the spirit to transport me. So I feel very coastal right now. I feel like I'm in a place that this is created. I feel very beachy, to be honest. And I don't know where Jalisco is. I know it's in Mexico, and I kind of get a general understanding, but like I can tell you where this sip transports me. And it also transports me to a good experience, not like I've been on the beach too long and I'm sunburnt and like get me the heck out of here. So
Mhm.
this is really good. And so now we have the base spirit, and we have the añejo, which I believe means aged, and it's got to be or aged experience over 7 months or over a couple amounts of months. I don't know the exact. And it's in this beautiful bottle. This thing is absolutely stunning, and it's the Robofino. So can you explain a little bit about the elevated expression that you have? Because the Blanco is what, the creators, the distillers love to drink. Americans, we love our whiskey. Obviously, this has some whiskey influence. So um, how do these two mesh together?
Okay, so the base of the industry of tequila is Blanco, because Blanco is the most affordable product because it has no aging losses. So is the base, and it's used as either as a cocktail, as a mixer, or as a neat. But is you describe is very mineral, very pepper, maybe citric as well, flora or flowers. But overall, is agave. It's agave. It's a plant. It's herbal. The reposado añejo and extra añejo, we have notes of oak. So we played and put the tequila blanco in resting barrels to create reposado, añejo, and extra añejo. According to the Mexican law, to name reposado has to be aged at least 2 months and it can be in a big container. It can be like even in a stainless steel with pieces of wood to make reposado. What we have done is to elevate that to put our standard higher. Basically, we decided to, instead of doing in tanks, do it in barrels, 200-liter barrels. Non-new barrels, we decided to use American Bourbon, white American oak used with Bourbon one time. And normally, a Bourbon that has a big rye, no, corn mash bill, high concentration of corn, around 80% of corn. And that is going to give us less, let's say, more concentrated because it's a smaller container instead of a tank is 200 liter. And then if it's a fresh barrel, meaning that within 10 days after the aging of the bourbon is done, we put the tequila right away at 55%, 110 proof. We're going to extract the aromas and flavor of the bourbon and also the toasted oak, which is caramel, vanilla, maple syrup, dark chocolate, banana, and many other sweet flavors that we see. And also, we extended the time. Instead of 2 months, we said, okay, our reposado is going to be up to a year, between 6 months to a year. So after 1 year, it becomes añejo.
Mm.
And in our case, we decided to do it 2 years. So as you can see, we elevate the standards. No, there's always minimum,
Yep.
but we are not driven by minimum. We like to say that we're driven by maximum, our
Yeah,
own standard,
for
and
sure.
that's the añejo. But the product that you have right now, which is Roble Fino, is a double cask. It's the most complex product we have, and it means fine oak, Roble Fino in Spanish. And it's because marriage the best of two worlds. The American oak from the United States used with bourbon, and then we have the European oak made in Spain. The oak is from the north of Spain, from Galicia,
Hmm.
and it's used with the Oloroso sherry, which is a sherry sweet, and then it's used with the Macallan cask. Is used with Macallan for 24 years, two periods of 12 years. And that complexity, we finish our reposado and our añejo in this cask. So we use let's say, the Jack Daniel barrels for a year in the case of reposado, 2 years in the case of añejo. And then we create another product, which is the Roble Fino, finishing in this European oak, ex-sherry, ex-single malt for 2 months in the case of Reposado, and in the case of Añejo, 5 more months. So it's a unique product. Nobody has this, and it's 100% natural, additive-free, no coloring. And also, we elevate the alcohol by volume to 43% in the case of the Reposado. You have the Reposado on you or the Añejo?
The añejo.
Oh, the Añejo is 45% alcohol.
Well, and so that's the one thing I noticed off the bat is it does have a little bit more weight on the palate from that extra proof, extra alcohol by volume there. It's so nice because it's so gentle, right? It's there. You appreciate that, but the base spirit, I think finishing any spirit is by far one of the hardest things people have to do in your profession. And I just love that the base spirit still shines while you can get a little bit of the sherry. So that jammy characteristic that comes from that. You get a little bit of the vanilla, a little bit more spice, and it could be from the rye or the just the traditional American white oak mash bill there. And then you get a little hint of that single malt like chocolatiness there on the back end. And this is very, very pleasant. And I can see why that this is such an elevated experience. And, it is a premium product for you all. But this, I mean, that's to die for. I mean, that is very, very good.
Thank you, Jake. I think one of the one of the principles that I learned very early in my career is the balance. I spent a month in Japan. I took a course, part of my MBA that I took. It was to visit a country and a university in Tokyo. And I learned from the people two things in Japan. One is the balance is the most important thing in life, no? Because you can be very successful in many things, but if you don't balance other things like health or family, no? You have a lot of money, but you don't have another reason, no, another balance. And that's the same, I think, in the liquid, in the tequila. We have to respect the base because it's the blanco, no,
Yeah.
and the blanco is the agave spirit. So we want to do a balanced spirit that has the blanco expression, the age in American, and the age in the European oak.
Yeah. Well, and Japan, I think probably does it just about as good as anybody. They've done a really good job. Master blenders, right? Master at their crafts when it comes to that. And this just has all the balance, right? When we talk about whether it's food or beverage, you can get out of balance, and sometimes it's a good thing. This is harmony, right? This is, when things kind of work together, this is very harmonic. You can enjoy this. You don't have to think about it because the things that you want to come forward are very pronounced. And the things that you want to be subtle are subtle, but you can still notice them. And that's what I'm coming to appreciate. And this is my tequila journey. We're on one, me and Scott together trying to figure this out. And so I really appreciate you being the first guinea pig for us to go on this journey with, and for you all to send us product. It's very gracious, and your PR team is really great at what they do. And so I hope this is the first of many conversations as we go through, because what you all are creating, I believe, is very delightful. And as an agricultural nerd, I love that this is another product in another country that is elevated to the world over. And people can appreciate, the hard work that people are putting in to create premium products.
Yes, Jake, I think you said when you were tasting tequila, it's like a journey. I'm with you 100%, absolutely. And I think the Roble Fino can transport many people to the agave fields. If they've never been there, they can transport to the aging of a Bourbon warehouse, and also to the Spain, no, to the sherry production of this wine, and also to the Scotland to melt the barley and then the aging. So it's like a experience, and that's what we want to share. And you cannot put artificial flavor in an experience. It has to be 100% natural, and that's what we claim all the time. Tequila Partida, additive-free, OG brand. and consistency. The other thing that I learned in Japan, besides the harmony and the balance, is what they call kaizen. Kaizen is in Japanese is continuous improvement. No, like you learn you're not perfect, but you can pursue perfection in the production process and listen to people. And that's what I do basically to say, okay, do you think it's ready this batch? No, it's not. Let's give it a little more time and then taste it again. You think this is the correct ABV? No, let's put it in another proof. Okay. And proof and error, but continue measuring and improvement.
Yeah. I couldn't say it better. I worked for a Japanese company as a contractor, and they talked about continuous improvement all the time, the act of Kaizen. And I think not only can we take that lessons to spirit, we can also take that lessons to life. And so I do appreciate that. That's words to live by, really, in all honesty, is that we should always be continuing to improve, every facet of who we are. And so, Jose, I really hope that people go and buy this and enjoy this spirit. I know I'll be sharing it with my friends over the summer as we hit the summer months, but really appreciate you joining us this afternoon and look forward to the continued conversation as we move forward.
Thank you for having me, Jake. I just want to add thank you to your audience and for the invitation. And also that we are about to launch and available the single barrel in case your customers and listeners want to reach us in our webpage. They can go to Tequila Partida and they can find our products. And yeah, we're running for off trade, on trade, like liquor store, retailers, and also restaurant bars. We're running a program that they can select the barrel. They can come to the distillery, or we can suggest some samples, and they can buy a whole customized packaging for them for the single barrel.
Yeah, well, Americans love a little bit of diversity, so everything just a little bit more, ratcheted up a little bit. So I think they'll definitely enjoy that experience, and we'll make sure we put all this information in the show notes. But really appreciate you joining us today, and we look forward to catching you next time. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Bourbon Lens, and we'll check you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.